All right, go get it, nation. It is 3:00 Eastern time, and that can only mean one thing. Means it is time to go ringside, so you get to know someone who is in the know. And if you are either watching us on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, or YouTube Live, please make it a point to introduce yourself in the comments, and we'll give you the requisite fist bump and shout out. And if you are listening to us on the Clubhouse simulcast, I would encourage you to please mute your microphone until after the live stream, and then we'll be doing the Running Your Voiceover Business Round 5 roundtable. So stand by. But in the meantime, we have someone very special who is joining us. This fella does not do these events often, and we are very privileged to have him ringside today. And if you ever wanted to be represented by an agent, if you want to know what it takes to get to the level to work with a bi-coastal agent, boy, oh boy, do we got a good one here for you to talk to. I want to introduce you to the Vice President of the Affiliate and Imaging Division at CESD Talent Agency, my old job. Here he is, Mr. Nate Zeitz.
How are you?
Good to see you, man. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. This is fun.
This is fun, and we haven't even gotten started yet, but it's, like I said, I can't thank you enough. I know your schedule is ridiculously busy, and this isn't typical for you, but you humored my little request.
Good.
And we're here hanging out. I want to say hello to some of the folks who have joined us. We're making a big point to make our viewers and listeners a part of the show. Charlie Wyrock is here. Steve Tardio is here. Robert Jonathan, the animation voice. My better half has jumped on. Elaine, how you doing, honey? Craig Acock is here, and also joining us on Clubhouse is Glenn Noble. And James and Susan, thank you guys for joining us. Please mute your microphones until after the live stream, and we'll be doing the Ask Me Anything around 3:30. Damon Allums has jumped on. Bill Kernodle, David Hinojosa, Mike Christensen. You're a popular guy. Look at you, man. You know how to draw them in. That's cool, man. So listen, Nate and I are definitely going to obviously be having a conversation and talking about things that are cool and relevant in the voiceover and imaging and promo world. But I cannot stress enough, if there was an episode, Go Get It Nation, for you to ask a question, I got the man right here. I got him held captive for you for at least 20, 30 minutes. You got to ask your questions. So tee him up. I don't care if the entire episode is answering your questions. Bring them on for Nate. He is more than happy to answer. Chris Bartley, Leslie Carter, Grant Patrizio. Thank you guys all for hopping on. So let me ask you something. Nate, I mean, things are starting to ramp up again in the economy. Obviously, the promo world, the TV affiliate world, kind of things got put on pause, I guess, for budgets and whatever else, and working from home and all that kind of stuff. Are you starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with that?
It's starting to open up. I think with every passing month, and certainly there's a direct correlation to what's happening out there with the vaccine distribution and businesses opening, because it all trickles, the advertising, it's all connected. So with every passing month, we're, particularly at my desk, I'm seeing more and more stations, and maybe there's something, to be said that the time of year as well. We're getting close to the summer, and, generally I see a spike in activity anyway, but yes, no doubt about it. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been working on probably about 10 auditions, which in the imaging and affiliate world is a lot, because unlike commercial breakdowns, unlike promos, a lot of those types of projects can be very last minute. The station VO search can take weeks, if not sometimes months. So to have that many auditions in such a short period of time is encouraging.
And they're not replenishing voices, every month as with a sale for a calendar on, with a commercial. It's more yearly or every other year. That's so right. The fact that you're getting a lot of traffic is really cool. Would you say a lot of that is it evenly split between radio stations and TV, or is it one weighted more than the other?
Well, I've always found, just traditionally, historically, that is, that radio, there's always more activity in radio for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's more stations, 10,000 plus commercial stations out there. There's always an opportunity. TV affiliates, less stations, and those stations don't change that often. It's a wonderful, if you're fortunate enough to book a TV station, you're going to hang on to it for a good chunk of time, unless, of course, something goes drastically wrong, you don't perform. But generally speaking, you know, the average shelf life of a TV affiliate gig can be 10 years, maybe more.
Yeah,
I've had clients voicing TV stations for close to my entire career, and then some. So, but radio is a more volatile business. It's a more volatile marketplace. And, you know, if stations are not performing, if the ratings just aren't there, a corporate will pull the plug just like that. Also, you're also dealing with, and it's a forever frustrating aspect of this business, but you just have to accept it. Program directors, imaging directors, I respect their process. They are very, they're all about ownership and putting their mark on a station, and rightfully so, they should. A lot of times, new PD will come in, and just like that, even I've had it happen over the years on several occasions where I will have just put a voice talent on a station the previous year, and then it's ripped out. The rug is ripped.
Somebody comes in and says, "I want to make my mark on the station."
Yeah, and it's frustrating, and you have to remind yourself as both the representative of the talent and then reminding the talent, this is not personal. I know it hurts. I know it stings. I know you've done a good job. It's not about you. It's about what they want to do. But at the same time, you've got PDs who are also very, very open-minded, very receptive, and are not inclined to immediately pull the trigger. They want to take their time, assess the situation, see what the competition's doing. Do we really need to make a change just for the sake of change? So it just depends. It just depends.
Well, I tell you what, the questions are starting to file in. Let's say some hellos, and we'll get these questions fired over here to you. Bring it. Petruzio's here. John Grimes is here. Samantha Berman, Paul Green Dennis, Xenia Gallagher, Dan Levy, Jack Davenport, Charlie Toro. Man, oh man, they're filing here. Let's get the questions rocking. Steve Cardio asks, he says, what is the best way to make contact with an agency and agent and keep a great relationship going between the two? And he's fully vaccinated, he made sure to mention.
Best way to make contact with an agency and agent. Well, we get so much unsolicited, so many unsolicited emails. And as an agent, we have to be very particular about, who we respond to. Doesn't mean that we're nice people because we don't reply. It just means that there's a process. I think a lot of it I think the best way, frankly, is being introduced. I think having a referral, having a colleague, best case scenario, you have a friend who's already represented by that agency, who can be an advocate for you, who can be a cheerleader. The agents are going to be much more inclined to stop and have a listen because of the relationships that they have with that client. Well, the client's going out and advocating for that person. And I think it's important to be mindful of how often you're reaching out to agents. I've had people in the past contact me relentlessly, and that is a turnoff. It's just
okay.
It is. Much the same way that when I'm marketing clients, am I going to reach out to the same program director every month? No. They know where I am. They know where to find me. They know who I represent. Go back in 6 months, check in again. And I think that it's really about spacing out your contacts. But I really think that referrals are the best way in. Unless you're bringing something, and this has happened before, unless you're bringing something so unique to the table and you catch the agent on a good day. Oh, this is intriguing. Let me look into this a bit more.
Gotcha.
But that, more so than not, that doesn't generally happen.
So it pays to know somebody.
It pays to know somebody. We all need to know people, right?
Yeah, faux show. So Charlie Toro says, hey, Nate sent you a few demo links. He was referred by Chuck Duran, speaking of referrals. And Charlie's good people. I'll vouch for him. And Charlie, you can send the residual check to me in a while. Charlie Wyrock asks, what are some key things you listen for when you're reviewing a talent's promo and imaging demo?
Well, I can speak to the imaging. I mean, I really like to defer to my colleagues in the other departments, promo, commercial, narration. Those are, I have for my entire career at CESD, which is crazy enough, coming up on 19 years, which is pretty wild to think about.
How do you do that? You're only 31. How did you figure that out?
I look good for 31, right? Let's see. Imaging, today, in 2021, it's really all about being a performer. I think back to when I first got into this business and just knowing the history of radial imaging, the sound has changed dramatically. You would find certainly in the in the late 80s and 90s, and this is just conversations I've had with clients over the years, the big, strong, that's what people wanted. It was in high demand, and it still is. I have very successful clients who have been able to have great success across many different genres, many different formats within radio, and have big voices because they know how to perform. But I think if you ask most voice talent that do radio imaging, they would agree, I think, that these days stations want authenticity. Stations want someone who is a true performer. The more creative you are in your demo, taking risks, doing things that are against the grain, that are outside your comfort zone, and I'm just speaking, this is my opinion, but it's also in having conversations with PDs over the years. They want someone who's going to really bring something really interesting and different and unique to a station.
Because they're a part of the station. They're almost a character.
They are, and the more creativity that you can infuse into your reads, and the more realness, I think you can tell when a delivery just does not sound authentic, when it's put on, when it's pushed, and again, I think a lot of it depends on the format too. And some PDs might say, you know what, I get all that, but I want the big, signature one set. That's what I need for my station. Fair, good. We have lots of people who can do that. But I think that those that really know how to perform and bring a character to their reads. And I'm thinking about a particular guy. I won't get into any specific names, but there's a particular client on my roster who, every time I've sent his stuff around, the response is like, where did you find this person? Like, and it's just amazing. And it's because he knows how to take a piece of copy, and I have a lot of guys that can do this, and bring it to life. It's one thing if you read it 3 or 4 different ways, that's fine. But are you able to take the copy and almost rewrite it? Are you able to enhance the PD's vision, the imaging director's vision?
Ad-lib a little bit? More than ad-libbing.
I think everyone if you can ad-lib, great. But if you really care about the process, I didn't know him personally, but I've heard amazing things about the late Nick Michaels, and this was one of the things that I heard about what he would do. He would really be involved, from what I understand. Again, didn't know the man personally, but from what I've been told, that he would really be involved in the process with the copy. Not everybody does that. Some people just read it, send it back, but others will really sit down and take the time to, figure out or speak to the imaging director about what the vision is here, what the PD's vision is here, and how, and make it better, you know. And I'm a big fan of that. I think that those individuals who really take the time, and it's hard because if you're voicing lots of radio stations and TV stations and you got other projects, where's the time?
Sure.
So, but I think if you can find a way to make the time, and I always remind clients, look, I get it. We're in a rapid pace environment, and there's a pressure to return stuff right away. And I've had to tell people to slow down. I would much rather you return your material within 24 hours. You know, maybe our contracts say 48 hours. Now, you want to balance getting stuff back as quickly as possible, but you don't want to sacrifice quality. So take the time. Know what you're saying. You know, what is the message here?
Get invested in the copy.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that people appreciate that. You know, I'd like to think that people appreciate that.
So Dan Levy has an interesting question. He said, "What's the most creative way someone has gotten your attention?" You don't have to mention the name, but if you want to mention the method, might be cool.
I got some tasty snacks in the mail one day, and this particular client, I work with him now. he would check in with me every year, and I think it was the delicious treats that really stuck. I mean, I'm a sucker for certain things. Look, you know, there's no guarantees with anything. You know, you can, and it just so happens that he's very good. You know, we just started working together. But I was just like, look, I appreciate the effort. You know, it's the one thing I can't stand, just being very candid, is I get so many emails on LinkedIn. I get emails in my regular inbox. I get Facebook, you know, requests from people I don't even know. And they just request to know me. I'm like, if you want me to be friends with you, or if you want me to reply to an email, you got to do a bit more than that. Like it's like it's the same thing as if I'm reaching out to a station and I just attach a demo and I don't say anything in the email. No one's going to
make an interesting point. Forgive me for interrupting, because there are times when we do these shows that there are nuggets that get revealed that are very important, and I like to turn into a little mini lesson for Go Get It Nation. And what you just talked about, and I don't think it's talked about enough. Everyone is like, how do I talk to an agent? What should the email say? Is there a template? Ba, 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 ba. And they forget that agents are doing the same thing that they are.
Same thing, exactly.
So they know what it's like to knock on the door. They know what the correct pace of a follow-up is, or what the best approach, or how to be tactful in certain situations. It's a two-way street. They know, you know what they know.
Yeah, and it's not an exact science. It's like, you know, I try to, when I'm reaching out to stations, I've learned from just doing this over the years. You know, I like to talk. I'm a talker. So, you know, I have to remind myself that being succinct and getting to the point. PDs are busy. Imaging directors are busy. You got a PD that's overseeing 5 stations in a cluster. He doesn't have the time. She doesn't have the time to sit through a long-winded email. Get to the point. But, you know, for me, when I'm pitching talent, I like to market based on, I'll take a really exciting station that a client just booked. That's how I market, you know. And you know, if I'm recommending clients to a station, I'll put a list together and say, these are the people I think you need to listen to, and then let the PD do what they're going to do with it. But when I'm doing a custom marketing project for a client, I find that the most effective way is to take, you know, to use something that they've, you know, I just had a client book a pretty big top 40 station. That's the first thing. As soon as that went live, I'm zapping that out to all the sister stations and all the big stations, and it's short and sweet. This is the client, this is her previous station, success. Here's the new one. Let the demo do the talking, right?
Exactly. Social proof, we call it.
Keep it, short. And there's lots of voice talent that have reached out to me over the years and have provided, they've done it the right way. Some have gone on way too much. I'm like, you lost me. Then there are others who are not providing any detail. So I really just think it's about balance. And like you said a minute ago, as a talent, you have to recognize that you're not always going to get a reply back. It's just, I try as often as I can. Sometimes I don't. Guess what? Stations don't always write me back either.
You're living it.
It's just the nature of the day. It's the nature of the business. It bugs you. Why won't the PD take the time to say, God, because they don't want to. They don't want to, or they just forgot, or whatever, right? But I don't take that personally. It's just the nature of the business.
Ebb and the flow, man. So
I guess what I'm saying is if you are a talent and you want to be represented by an agency, I'm a big fan of persistence, and I think that's important. Balanced persistence is important. So if you submit a demo and you haven't heard back from an agent, give them a couple weeks. Don't do this. Don't email and then call. That bugs me. I think that would bug most people.
Did you get my email?
Yes, I did. I did. You don't need to call me.
Bye.
Look, it's just that's what we're in. That's how things are these days, But you have to just remind yourself, okay, it's a long game. It's a long game.
Wait. You just said it's a long game. Where have we heard that before, Go Get It Nation? That it's a long game. You got to be patient.
It's a long game.
Let me say hello to a few extra people who have jumped on the stream here with us. Wanda Giger is here. Sir Hamilton Newton has joined us. Lana Goldfinch, Scott Garber. What's up with you, my brother? Let's see who else. Dave Crockett. Yes, this is a great interview for sure. Nate is dropping some knowledge bombs left and right. And we got a question here from Mike Christensen. Mike says, if a talent keeps in touch for a while and you eventually work with them, what makes that change to go from not signed to deciding to sign the talent? Is it just timing? Is it you had a change of heart, or all of a sudden it's like listening to a song on the radio you didn't like when it was released, but then 2 years later you really like it? I mean, let us know.
I have come across many talented individuals over the years. There's a finite number of spots on the roster, so to speak, right? I can't represent everybody. If I were to take on more and more talent, I would be doing a disservice to the people that I work with. So, I try to keep the roster within a certain
manageable.
Yeah, I have a lot of people because I have to cover a lot of formats, but I have to keep it manageable. That said, I think for me, it's based on my needs. It's based on adjustments that I've made to the roster. It's also, hey, listen, this is me talking to a particular talent. All right, you've got a nice start here. I think you need to go out a bit more and show and hustle. You need to dedicate time you have to do X, Y, and Z. You have to do these things, keep doing them, and let's see if you can get a little bit more momentum on your own.
There's a great follow-up to that by Dan Levy. It kind of dovetails right into what you're talking about. He said, how much goes into signing a talent that comes with their own stations, as opposed to someone who comes in fresh?
So when you bring somebody on that has a roster, they're normally coming because they want to take their existing roster and use that as leverage to get to the next level, which I've done. And it's a partnership, by the way. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's just me. No, it's a true partnership, and we can get into that. but they normally say, okay, well, I'm making, my stations are, I'm at this much money retainer wise, and I would ideally like to start seeing new business that, now these days it's very difficult just knowing the realities of the radio world and the affiliate world too. Generally, what you have, what you've been getting paid more so than not, that's what you're. I'm not a miracle worker. I'm not going to tell somebody because I want them to hand over their business that I'm going to be able to, add 15, 20, 25%. Sure. I was able to do that 20 years ago when the radio business was drastically different.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Some of my early clients, who are those that are a couple that are still with me, we were able to have tremendous success in terms of growing their rates, but that's different now. So it's generally when someone comes in with an existing roster, they either want to try to get to that next level, better markets, better retainer rates, or they want to use that as a way to get in other departments, right? If they want to have more opportunity in commercial promo,
sure,
right? Or they just need a fresh, maybe they just need a different perspective, maybe they just need someone, I think that who you're represented by reflects who you are as a person. Like I think there's something to be said about that. I think that I look for people who have the similar mentality, similar, people who work as hard as I work. I want people who are going to be true partners, so maybe people leave because they feel like that's lacking, there's a number. Yeah. But and to answer the question, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, it really, for me, it's going to be like, what are my needs? Maybe 5 years ago, that talent, as good as he or she was, didn't serve. I didn't need them at that particular moment, right? Now, the flip side is, yes, there are certain occasions where, and it's easier to do this now. Like in the early years when I first got into this business, I needed to have people who had, a background in radio imaging, TV affiliate. People, I needed to have some names that I could work with to develop them and take them to where they wanted to go. It was a lot harder then to take someone who was brand new, because I was still brand new and I was still trying to build my reputation in the business.
Yep.
But these days, I have worked with and developed talent, and I think and a lot of the people that who are my developmental talent are from within the agency. Someone who
might be in the commercial department or something, trying to get some imaging work.
Exactly. And these days it's very simple to give them the guidance, and here's what you need to do to go, put them in touch with an Eric Romanowski or a Jay Helmus in Canada, or Chad Erickson, who's got his VO demo business. And there are others, but certainly those three come to mind. It's very simple to get a demo put together. And then at that point, it's okay, let's see what you can do. And we've had success. Others, you also have to participate. If you make the demo, great. But if you're not going to do the additional things, this is a very different animal. You have to be comfortable marketing, networking, showing up to events when we can all do that again. Right, exactly. It's different than a commercial, in the commercial division, the commercial agents receive times, right? And they are able to make those times available for certain talent, unless, of course, it's a project that is a little bit more open-ended. But
sure,
what I'm trying to say is, in our world, it's really about being aggressive and reaching out and networking. And if you're not comfortable doing that, or you're not willing to do it, this is not right for you. And you have to be willing to hear the word no. I know this is not a new concept. I know that
but it needs to be said by a guy like you, because sometimes when this guy says it, not everybody hears it. They're listening when you're saying it.
everybody that's listening and watching today knows about that concept already. But I will tell you that if you can't handle it, if you're not willing to accept that, also if you have a time frame in mind, well, I want to achieve success within this period. Who can predict that? There's no way that anybody can predict that. And I've found that in the past, the people that I've been developing, we've caught lightning in a bottle. I signed a guy a couple years ago. He was an unknown here. And if you had asked me at the time that I met him if we would achieve the level of success that we've had in such a short period of time, I would have been like, no. He's talented, no doubt about it, and he brings something exceptional and something unique. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be an overnight hit. But it happened. I have a woman on my roster, same idea. When we started working together, handful of stations, and boom.
Just took off.
But that's the exception. That's not the norm. It's a slow, steady climb, and you're going to have attrition. Sometimes you're going to take 3 steps back, and then it's kind of like the market. You think about what's the volatility in the stock market. It's the same concept. You have to play the long game. And if you want to be if you want to be successful, and I'm not saying you want to be successful as quickly as possible, of course, but there's only so many things that you can control.
You mentioned the word market, and that speaks to Dave Crockett's question. He says, if the market's dictating the rate, why would a talent need an agent?
Well,
I know the answer to that, but I want. Yeah.
Okay, great question. 2 things. Number one, and I say this in a general sense, I have found over the years that people who are not represented, not everybody, I'm saying this in a very general sense, bring the rates down. One of the things that I try to do as best I can as an agent is to get the best possible rate. Doesn't always happen, but there are a lot of people out there who will, this might not be a popular thing, but I'm just going to say it. People will just do it to do it. Do it for whatever. There's all kinds of websites out there where people can list, and I'm just not a big fan of, it's like dollar holler. I'm just like, that's not what we do here.
Read.
We are about, helping people grow their business in a smart and targeted way. And, I understand that, yes, you have to get in, but that doesn't mean you have to give it away. Right. The other thing is, why do you need an agent? Agents have relationships with people that you may not. I go back to, and by the way, vice versa. One of the things that has been tremendously helpful to me over the years, when I first got started, did I know everybody? Of course I didn't. So certain clients who have been partners with me for years, that just naturally happened, where I got to know certain people because they had known those individuals. And then from there, I'm cultivating those relationships, and they're growing. But at the end of the day, particularly clients who I'm developing, who, have never done radio imaging, have never done TV affiliate, and they're new to this division, they're going to rely on those relationships. So, you can be a really gifted talent. And remember what I said a few minutes ago, PDs, unless there's a reason for them to reply, they're often not gonna, right? So you can be really talented. And there's tons of unsigned, of voice talent out there who are not signed. Many, many gifted talent. But sometimes it's a much harder to break through when they just don't have the relationships. And by the way, same thing for me. There's lots of people that I'm trying to develop relationships with in the, on the buyer side, and it doesn't always happen. So being persistent, balanced approach, don't be too in their face, Don't call them after you email them.
This is all awesome. This is very constructive information. We're getting a little tight on time. I told you I'll only keep you for about a half hour, so we'll start to try to wind things down. A quick shout out to a couple of other people who have jumped on. Suzanne Roberts, Chad Erickson has jumped on. What's up, Chad? Good to see you, brother. My nephew, Ant. What's up, kid? Good to see you, brother. We'll wrap this up with Charlie Wyrock's question. So, Charlie, you're like Mr. Irrelevant in the draft today. You get the last question. When a talent is repped, are they exclusive to a particular radio group, or are they available to work for various groups?
Various groups. That's the beauty of radio imaging, TV affiliate work. You are an independent contractor. You can work with whomever you want. Now, certainly, if an iHeart or Cumulus or whomever, TV Side, Nexstar, Sinclair, they might come to you and say, hey, we want to put you on a lot of our stations, and then you work out some sort of group arrangement. You have to cover all the exclusivity discussions at that time, but generally speaking, you're a free agent.
Nice.
There's no restrictions. The only thing that you have to keep in mind when you're doing affiliate and imaging work is, once you contract with one particular station, you can't do another station in the same market. Generally speaking, once in a great while, you have a news talk, for example, and a top 40, and both stations are okay coexisting.
They don't compete with each other, basically.
But generally speaking, and I don't advocate that. I think it's important to be the voice of one brand, singularly. But no, sky's the limit.
So I think this is what we need to do. I mean, because we could certainly keep this going for a long time.
I'm happy to talk a little bit more.
I mean, we'll go in overtime here for a few extra minutes because there are more questions popping in there. So here's a question that I have, because you had mentioned if a talent really wants to, if someone's gifted, they got the pipes, they sort of got your attention, but you're not ready to kind of make that partnership yet.
Right.
You had said they have to hustle. They have to do the X, Y, and Z to do their share. Tell us what the X, Y, and Z could be.
Sure. Well, the number one thing, and you have to do this even if you have an agent. Well, you don't have to do anything, but I recommend that you do it if you want to be successful. You do this both before you have representation and during. It comes back to the marketing. You have to reach out to individuals.
Sorry, that's my I love marketing stance.
But what does that mean? It's
Yeah.
not just this, I'm just going to throw darts at the wall and just see what happens. Figure out where does your sound make the most sense? You don't have to email everybody. If maybe you start with smaller markets, and within those smaller markets, you identify the handful of formats that you're really, really good at, and then you just start saying hello to people. Another thing that and remember, it's a long game. You just have to know that 9 times out of 10, but if you don't do it, then you're out of the game completely, right? That's just
Absolutely.
That's just reality. It's like, and that's in any sales-driven type of industry. It's not just limited to voiceover. But the other thing that I'm a big fan of, I tell my clients to do this all the time. Some do, some don't. Listen, you want to demonstrate to a station that you, not only do you take initiative, but you are hungry, that you want the business. So don't just send them a generic demo. No, take the time to create a demo. If you have the means to do this, not everybody does, where you can either write something, if you have the background, if you have a production background or a copywriting background, or even better, take the time to listen to some stations, do your research, figuring out who you're talking to, right? Transcribe some audio, read it. If you got a buddy in the business who can produce, maybe a little barter. Hey, I'll do this for you, do this for me, and like let's help each other out. Or maybe you're just a producer and you can do it. But that to me is a really great way to market. It shows them, it allows a PD and an imaging director to put your voice in a more specific context. Oh yeah, we just ran that promo. Oh yeah, well, he sounds pretty good. She sounds really good.
I remember when I was working with Paul Turner, when we were soliciting work for stations, we would make mini air checks where we would pull songs, and we would send you not just a 2-minute demo. We would send you 7, 8, 9 minutes with music breaks in between from that playlist of that station with Paul's voice. We put in a promo, a top of the hour ID, a sweeper. So that way, when they sat and listened to it, they could say, wow, this is what this guy sounds like on my station. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many pieces of business we got doing it that way.
It's huge. Another thing I like to encourage, I have certain clients on my roster, and I know that other agencies, have the same type of, have clients that do the same, is I got a male-female combo who have been put on lots of stations. Hey guys, get together off channel, do something fun, whip something together. I got 2 clients in particular right now who are doing that. It's a fun way to, to strengthen numbers sometimes, right? So, but it's also about creating a demo that's fun and wacky and different, right? It's yes, take some of the stuff that you guys have done with the stations you're on, but also, put some new stuff in there that pushes
customize, take that initiative, spec out some work.
Look, the bottom line is this: you whoever wants to do this, those that are trying to get in and those that are doing it now. How many people are doing radio imaging and TV affiliate work these days? I can't even count.
I was going to say it's a big number.
It's huge because, and we all know why, well, technology has afforded everyone the opportunity. I mean, I could run upstairs and put a studio in my bedroom right now and, boom, done. It's easy. Also, why do people want to do radio imaging? It's steady money, right? You've got a check coming in every month.
You can budget.
You can project. Other areas, you can't do that. You can't do that with promos and commercials. Yeah, I mean, it's great if you get a big account, steady promo account, not even that's contracted, but just that you're going to be doing daily work. We've got a lot of clients that do daily work, and you're billing it per session, per promo, per tag. That's great work too. But radio imaging, TV affiliate work, you can more or less within a couple percentage points, you just know where you're going to be. And yes, during the course of the year, business goes away. The pandemic certainly, screwed that whole thing up, of course, and we've been dealing with that. But what I'm saying is that there are so many people. When I got started in this business, first as an assistant and then became an agent, you could identify the core 2 people. You could. Now you got. Oh, I thought we lost you there for a second. Okay.
No, that's okay. Little internet glitch there. Speaking of technology.
But now you have, in addition to, CESD's roster and other agencies that specialize in this area, you've got all the people who are not signed. And so the marketplace is just, it's overcrowded. It's very saturated. So you have to do something to stand out, right? And I defer to, I like to defer to marketing experts like you. That's why people work with you, because they have to help them define and craft your message.
Through the clutter, man.
You have to do. But it's so key. It's so necessary these days. And also show up at conferences. Get outside your comfort zone. If going to an industry event and being among strangers it can be nerve-wracking.
Can I ask you a question about that specifically? And I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So I'm asking a question, but it's going to sound like a statement, and I want to know if I'm right or wrong. When you say attend conferences, that does not mean necessarily peer conferences. No. VO Atlanta, insert a VO. You're talking about radio station events.
and TV affiliate and promo and all, Promax Station Summit. I mean, I think it's going to be another year, most likely. Hopefully next year things will, I think the conferences should be back on. Virtual's fun and all, but it's really, look, I think work begets work, and it's a relationship based industry. And if you're not willing to take the time to meet people and develop relationships, then you could have the best voice in the world. Doesn't matter. You have to.
Hang on. There's another learning moment there. I have to hang on. You just said you could have the best voice in the world. Your talent's great, but if you're not willing to put in the work and cultivate relationships,
that's right.
You got Bupka.
That's right. Because you have to know that your competitors, your VO peers and competitors are doing that. And I get it. It's not an easy thing. And look, even after all the years I've been doing this, sometimes I go to conferences like, I have to, how do I go and talk to this person? Because you have to find a delicate, it's you just have to get outside your comfort zone and do it. Having a couple drinks helps too. That's why they do that.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah, you go to these conferences and it's like you find everybody at the bar, and that always helps. But in all seriousness, you'll be surprised because you go home, you do your follow-up emails, you do your follow-up calls. That's when you're going to get the return call or the return email, right?
You developed a rapport with that person already. You broke bread with them.
That's right.
You boogied on the dance floor a little bit, something.
And then and then you do that. You keep doing it, and that it's just one thing leads to another. You get booked from that contact you made, and that might not happen immediately. Maybe it's 3 months later, 6 months later, and then that job helps to lead to the next job, and then so on and so forth. And then the agent who you may be working with or may be working with in the future has something substantive that he or she can use to market you, right? There's no, it's a whole mixed bag. There's no specific formula. Like you have to be willing to adjust on the fly, switch things up. If your emails aren't getting, if you're not getting replies, maybe you need to take a look and see how you're writing them. I think, again, just like in the demos, people want authenticity, but people want realness. People want that in life. People want that when you're talking to people on the phone. When I talk to the buyers who I've really developed, when I talk to buyers in general, I never just jump right into business on the phone. Never. I'm always talking to them about just
their kids or the weather or what's on the news
and asking and getting to know them. And some buyers I certainly know better than others for sure, and I can shoot the shit with them a lot more. But I think that's important. I want the same. I don't want somebody to just be all business with me. We're in a relationship-based business. We have to be interested in each other, and it's just the way I look at these things.
So if you had a parting shot, like to give someone, to put some nugget of information in their hip pocket to leave this conversation with. I mean, there's so many we could pick from. It's either maybe sum up what we talked about, or if there's one thing you want to hammer home for the prospective radio imagers of the future, or the talent yet to be signed by a CESD, what would you say?
I would say, I know I'm being a little repetitive here, but please be patient. If you truly want to do this, you have to go all in, but be realistic. Be realistic. I mean, you think about other industries. If you have, and I just think it's important to be real with people. People who are, trying to get into the movie and television business. People who want to get signed, who want to get called up, or just get signed to a pro club, or dream, hopes, aspirations of one day making it to the
show. Yeah.
Show. Generally, that's a very hard road to climb, and those people have been doing it for years. You've got people who have been, just thinking about New York City, my former home, You got, aspiring actors and actresses who have all different types of, other jobs to help
pay the bills
and make it. And they do it because they're passionate about it. They do it because it's what they love to do. You have to love this. You have to want this, and it needs to be. If it's who you are, then you're going to take the time and do all the things. And you know what? If you don't have the success, if you don't break through, you can then say to yourself, "Well, look, I gave it my best.
I took a shot.
I truly gave it my best, and for whatever reason, it just didn't happen." But you have to be willing to go all in. I approached my business the same way.
Well, I could tell you, Nate, that you've certainly given us your best today. You've been extremely generous with your time. Here I told you 20, 30 minutes, and we're coming up on minute 51. Didn't feel that long.
I mean, go all day, like you said.
This was awesome. I'm going to have to ask you to come back. I'm just saying that right now. We'll space it out, but I got to have you back because there's certainly more ground we could cover that could definitely help Go Get It Nation. I just want to say, on behalf of everyone, thank you sincerely. You're a good egg there, Nate, brother. I appreciate you hanging out with us and being candid, man. And thank you for being on Ringside.
Well, that's the most important thing, being candid in our business. We got to be just honest and candid. And I think if you adhere to that philosophy and mentality, good things will happen to you. I truly believe that.
Well, you're walking the walk. You ain't just talking the talk. I got news for you. So just a reminder, guys, we're going to hop on over to Clubhouse here shortly, and we can, you can participate in the Running Your Voiceover Business Round 5 chat, where you can ask me anything about marketing, sales, branding, billing, social media content, and more. I encourage you to hop on over and say hello. A big fist bump to my man, Nate Zeitz, for hanging out. Go get it, everybody. We'll see you next time. Stand by, Nate.